Hi there, welcome back to my shop. Before I get going on today's project, I got a letter from Luie Bandeira in the great state of New Jersey. Now, I've been watching Luie for quite some time, and he has changed his channel's name. So if you've been looking for him, that may be why you haven't found him. Instead of Woodworking 220-7, as it used to be, it's now called Spindles Workshop. Now, if you haven't checked out Luie before, I hope you will. He does some real interesting projects, is a very good wood turner, and I think you'll enjoy him. So check him out, give him a like on some of his videos, and subscribe. Now, for today's project, I'm a little excited because I'm going to actually be able to use my vacuum chuck, something I really very rarely do. And I like using it, it just never seems to be the one that I need. For today's project, I think it will be. So I hope you'll stick around and watch and enjoy this video. 20 inches long, here to here, 17 inches across, 7 inches thick at this point, 4.5 inches thick at this point. Beautiful piece of Manitoba Maple Burl. Got some of these lovely burls on it. You can see the red streak underneath here indicating that it is Manitoba Burl, also known in the US as box elder. Got some, I believe, chainsaw cuts in here. So now the question is, what to do with this? I could chop it up into a bunch of smaller pieces, use some of this, but I'm very tempted to just turn this round, cutting it on the bandsaw, and then seeing what I'd come up with. Maybe putting a faceplate underneath here, and then turning this round, creating a bowl shape. Oh man, decisions. There is some severe cracking on this end. Looks like it goes in about 1 inch. Now the end is not flat, it is across here and then it rounds over, so I'll be leaving this away from the fence, running this along the fence, trying to make a straight end on here. I'll get my hearing protection on and we'll see what we can do with this. Well, there's certainly still a good sized crack in there. I just wanted to have a straight end to start with here. Now to figure out what's next. I flattened this end, hoping to get rid of this big crack, but obviously that didn't happen. And I don't know how far it goes in, and I'm really not going to worry about it too much. Now, I wouldn't mind a suggestion or two on just what I should do with this. So if you have a suggestion, now's the time. Or as they would say at a wedding, forever hold your peace. Now I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, thinking I should somehow use this as the inside of the bowl, but it'd be just too difficult to put anything on here to hold this without ruining this. As you can see, 8.5 inches from this end puts us right on the edge of this burl. If I try to flatten that out enough to put a faceplate or anything else on this side, I'm going to have to come right down to here. So that's not what I'm going to do. So my plan is to center it at this point on the bandsaw and cut this round. Now to do that, I have repurposed my bandsaw log cutting jig. And I've done this because the circle cutting jig that I have for my bandsaw, I can't find. There's just such a mess in this shop. But anyway, I've got the screw coming through 8.5 inches from this end. I want to match that screw up into this hole, put it on the bandsaw, and cut it round. So let's see how this is going to work out. I have this set up now to be my circle cutting jig. 90 degrees from this face and 8.5 inches over, I have a 1 1/4 inch wood screw in here. When it gets up to where that line matches the teeth, there's a little block here that's going to hit the end of the table and stop it from going forward. At that point, I will be able to start spinning the burl around to cut that circle. So I will get the burl mounted on this, and then I'll be back to do the cutting. Needless to say, this is going to be incredibly off balance on the lathe. But I'm going to take it over there and see what happens. I have a 6-inch faceplate that I'm going to use on this. So I have my centering jig to make sure it's in the center, or as close as I can get it to the center. And I'm going to try to make sure I've got the holes for the screws away from the cracks as much as possible. All right, let's get this over to the lathe and see what's going to happen. As I'm sure you can imagine, trying to turn this would be amazing. It is so much heavier on this side than on this. Even at 250 RPM, it wants to walk right across the floor of my shop. Also, if I was able to turn this, I would lose all of this beautiful burl, and that would be a shame. So I'm going to use my reciprocating saw. I've marked a line here, and I'm going to cut straight down across there and take all of this burl off, and hopefully I can use that slab in the future. I'm sure there will be something I can use this for. So I'm going to lock the spindle here, get my reciprocating saw, and cut this off. That's a very nice slab I have left over here. Now I can start trying to true this face up. It's still off balance, but not nearly as bad as it was. Now that I've taken that mass off, I expected it to be a little bit smoother, and it is, but only if I turn it up to 500 RPM, and then it's not really smooth. Here's a little example. I'm getting out of the way. So it is not smooth, but hopefully smooth enough that I will be able to start to true up this face. And I'll be doing that with my 3/4 inch bowl gouge with a pull cut across the front here. All right, I'm going to see what a push cut will do along here. All right, truing up this face is going to take a great deal of time. I don't expect you to watch all of it, so I'll bring you back. Dividers set to 1 1/2 inch for a 3-inch tenon. That looks much better. Yes, that looks better. Now I'll just make this a little deeper. That's much better. What I am doing here is a shear cut, not a shear scrape. By dropping the handle down low, I can use the wing of the bowl gouge to cut rather than scrape the surface. This allows me to cut some very fine shavings. All right, I need to do a little better job of this curve. All right, that is a much smoother curve. I can live with that much better. All right, I'm going to sand all of this now. I'll get everything ready. I'll be back in a second to show you what I want to do here. All right, the first thing I want to do is clean up some of these areas in here and this one here. And as you can see, there is some loose fibers in here. So I'm going to use this nylon disc in my drill and try to clean this up. I'll have the dust collector running just to take any dust away. Well, that does a good job of cleaning up those fibers, and I'm not trying to make this look smooth and polished. I like that natural look. So I'll do the same thing on these off camera, and then I will be back. I know you're not going to be able to see this very well, but this cut right here is actually a chainsaw cut, and it goes right across the center to about 2 inches below this lip. And then from that, this crack developed right from that chainsaw cut. And I can't tell how deep it is. I was going to just try leaving it, but I think that could be disastrous. So I'm going to take a small screwdriver, try digging out some of this loose stuff, fill this with some maple sawdust and Starbond CA glue, and I will be back to show you the results of that. It's not something too exciting to watch on video, so I will be back. Well, I have filled this crack with sawdust and CA glue. Some of course spilled over here, so now I just want to trim that off, try to do a decent job, and of course I'll have to clean this up as well with some shear cutting. This all needs to be sanded anyway. So I'll get my face shield on, grab my bowl gouge, and true this up again. Alright, that's certainly not perfect. There's some chip out in there or just some gaps of some kind. I'm just going to try filling that. First I'll try a little more shear cutting across here to clean this up. Alright, that looks alright, but I do need to fill that. Alright, I'm just going to shear scrape here. I'm using a 1/2 inch bowl gouge, a little less bouncing, hopefully with that extra weight. And I'm just going to come across here with a very smooth, I hope, shear cut. Alright, that is much smoother than it was. I'll redo this part. Alright, time to do some sanding. I have this sanded to 400 now. Feels very nice. I've also taken the corner of my skew chisel and put a divot right in the center. I'm going to reverse this now, but when I want to reverse it again to shape and or remove this tenon, I'm going to want to be able to find the center. So I'm going to reverse this into my chuck and I'll be back. As you can see, it's much closer to my tool rest here than almost anywhere else. So there's a whole lot of straightening out that I need to do to flatten this. Now, when the face plate was on here, I hadn't remembered what it looked like, and I thought this chainsaw cut also went into this chainsaw cut, but there are two different ones. And this one is really deep. So I'm going to trim this down, obviously to flatten this, but also I might take this whole thing out. I'm not sure if I want to fill some of that. I guess as I take some of this off, I'll be able to tell what I want to do. So I'm going to start turning this at 750 RPM. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch bowl gouge. I've already broken some of this off. I don't want it to come flying off of there. No, there we go. Guess that'll help a little bit. So I'll get my face shield on and get ready to turn this. I've brought the tail stock up with the live center just to make sure this is not going to fly out of the chuck and cause me a problem. Well, we're getting closer. Well, I need to take it down a little more, at least down past this rough part here. And I just can't decide if I want to fill some of this crack and this one, or if I want to take it down past there. Well, I'll take another 1/4 of an inch off here and see what I think at that point. Well, I'm going to take it down enough to get rid of this crack, but that should leave at least some of this. I'll see what happens then. Looks like I'm going to have to do some filling here. Even if I go down further, I might. There is so little of this left now. All right, that's looking pretty good. Well, I think the next thing I should do is check that this chuck is still real tight. Wood fibers tend to compress, and I don't want to take a chance on it flying apart. And it did move enough to make it worthwhile. Still cutting very rough right in just this area. Must be just the wood there is a little punky. Well, it's getting late in the day. I think that's going to be it for today. I'll be back tomorrow morning. I hope you'll join me. I have liberally soaked this with CA glue. So now I'm going to turn that away, hope that it's soaked down in there far enough to have an effect, and let's just see if I can clean that up. 800 RPM, 3/8 inch bowl gouge. That is much, much better. It'll need sanding, of course, but it certainly is better than what it was. I'm going to use a pencil and just make a mark a little bit in from this. I don't want to turn any of that away. So while this is going to be very wide rimmed at this point, I will be preserving that. That is such beautiful wood. All right, I think with a little sanding, that bead won't look too bad on there. So I'm just going to leave that. Still got some evidence of the screw holes from the faceplate. Well, I think I'm going to take some more of this down. I've managed to get the speed up to 900 RPM now, and I'm going back to my heavier 1/2-inch bowl gouge. Oh my gosh, that's good looking wood. I really like burl. Look at the red streak here from the Manitoba maple. This is beautiful. You may have noticed that there was still an open crack right there and coming around here. So I've freshly filled it with sawdust and CA glue, and now I need to just skim this off again to clean that up. All right, I believe the little bit that's still there will come off with the sanding with no problem. Now it's time to start turning again on the inside. Right here, it's very thin, so I have to make sure that I keep my angle going inwards. I want to try a little bit of shear scraping right there. All right, that does help a lot. Make it a lot easier to sand. All right, I think this area is ready for just sanding. Now I need to decide what I really want to do with this area. All right, it was late in the day, so it's a fresh day today. I want to start taking some of this down. Still trying to decide if I want this just to be a flat bowl or use this center for something. I think that's just deep enough to set this bowl in there. I think there's a chip and dip bowl or something. Right at this point, this wood is 5/16 of an inch thick, so I can't go deeper than that by any amount to put that dish in there. So I'm going to have to be careful with that. All right, there are two things I want to check. First of all, how is this bowl going to fit in there? Might have it too wide by the time it gets down to there, but I don't mind if it's loose in there. The second thing is, find where that bottom is using this depth gauge. And I've still got maybe 3/16 of an inch to go. All right, I obviously need to do some sanding, and I think I'll do that off camera. This video is long enough as it is. I'll be back to show you after I have sanded this. I'm going to be using my vacuum pump to do the turning of the tenon. And what I have is the fitting here that came with the vacuum pump system. And in that, I have a reducer for plumbing. I believe this is 4.5 inch on the large side, and I think it's 2.5 on the small side. I could be wrong on that. I don't really care, as long as it works. Now on the other side, if I hold my pencil eraser against the foot and spin it, I can see that it is not running perfectly. But it's close enough, it's as close as I can get it. The plumbing fitting has this leatherette type material around it to seal it against the wood. But where it's sitting on the wood is not flat. It's got that domed piece on it, and that reduces its effectiveness, I believe, just a little bit. But it should be effective enough when I'm running it to do this. Now the vacuum pump itself is quite loud. I have it about 15 feet away outside, and I'll just give you an example. You can still hear it quite plainly. Not terrible, but too much to talk over. So I'm going to get into my turning smock, pull the tail stalk out of the way once the vacuum pump is running, and start turning this tenon away. I'll be right back. All right, I'll just be sanding this. I just got to make the logo coin impression there. Well, if you're still with me, thank you for sticking around. I appreciate it. This was a bit longer than most of my videos after all. Now I'm very happy with how this came out, and I think my wife's going to like it too. She was telling me that I already made a chip and dip bowl, something like this. Well, I don't remember making it, and she can't find it. So now we've got one for Christmas. Now, because it's food safe that I need to put on this, I'm going to be using mineral oil. I like mineral oil, and one of the things I like about it, especially on something like Maple Burl, is the way it makes the colors pop. So I wanted to share just a little more of this with you so you can see that for yourself. And I hope it's showing up, because holy cow, that is beautiful. I really, really like Maple Burl, especially this Manitoba maple. In the States, it's known as box elder. That red hue that's in there is just gorgeous. So thank you for sticking with me. If you enjoyed this, I hope you'll click the like button, let me know I'm doing something right, and that you'll come back next time. Also, if you haven't subscribed before, I hope you will do that. And I really want to thank those who have subscribed. You're the reason I keep doing these. If you enjoy them and I enjoy making them, I guess I'll just keep doing it. Another thing you could do, it would really help my channel out, is if you would share it with others. I would appreciate that. Now, we're just a few days before Christmas, so I'm not going to be doing another one before Christmas. Let me take this second to wish you a Merry Christmas to you, your family, all your loved ones. I hope you have a great New Year, and that I'll see you back in my shop for the next one. Thanks again for stopping in. Take real good care now. Bye-bye.